There's the sound of the car.
What's up, fellas? How are you?
Kevin Egan has joined the party on MLS Prep Week. Where are you, sir, by the way?
I'm in the middle of nowhere, Canada, to be honest. I'm on the way from Ottawa to Montreal for a flight out of Montreal.
I've done that drive before. There's nothing there.
Nothing. No, but the people are lovely, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's been fun. The crowds, we had Elimination Chamber for WWE on Saturday night.
Yes, you did, sir.
And Raw last night. And the crowds here were incredible. They really were.
Yes. See, now, the question that Jarrett and I have is that we wanted to know if Kevin Patrick was in the car with you going to the airport, or are you driving solo to the airport?
We're both here together, yapping away, you know, happy as Larry's.
Okay. Because you know, we all watched Elimination Chamber. And there were some of us who watched Raw, so we know about the hot crowds that were there in Montreal and Ottawa. So we will save the Elimination Chamber discussion for Kevin Patrick. You can hand him the phone later at the end as we get closer to the top of the hour. All right. So how much studying have you been doing getting ready for opening weekend, Kev?
A lot, you know. Every chance I get, it's straight back in whenever I get a chance, and that's what it is right now. It's just the opportunities whenever they present themselves. I'm reading a book called Essentialism at the moment, which has been wonderful because this year is going to be nuts, and I'm so stupidly grateful for the opportunities and for the year ahead. And it just means that, you know, like, using your time to the best of your ability has to be the way forward. And oftentimes, you know, you can actually get more done by doing less once you have priorities. And the priorities, number one for me, are absolutely family, the kids and my wife, and the second is work and making both jobs work, and the three jobs work, because I Sirius XM as well.
No doubt. Jared Smith, go for it with Kevin Egan.
Yeah, and John touched on it a bit, but just like, you know, kind of finding that balance. How has it been finding that balance, you know, with the announcement for Apple TV of we know, you know, Atlanta so well, but expanding that out to more teams beyond just doing opposition research, I guess.
Yeah, and well, I hope you're doing well, Jared. Great to hear you. You know, the thing is, I actually think it's going to be so much easier now, and I'm not just saying this as a plug for Apple and MLS Season Pass, but now that it's global, now that it's on your device everywhere you want to go, you can watch every game back. How easy is that? You get Wi-Fi on planes, and you're making notes, and you're just making it happen everywhere you go, and it makes it so much easier. If I miss a game and it's on Univision and I'm trying to, you know, watch it back, it becomes incredibly tedious. And I get it, you can, you know, record it on your YouTube TV or whatever else, but this just makes it so much easier. And I'm really excited. Like, soccer is the game that I love, and it's always been that way. And I've been in love with MLS since I first moved to the US in 2009, and before that, when I used to go to Chicago as often as I could to see all my family over there. So it's going to be special to have Atlanta United. I've got the Atlanta United game at Mercedes-Benz this weekend, which I cannot wait for. I know I don't know if I'm breaking any rules by announcing that.
Well, hang on. Well, if you are, then what we're going to do, if since you just said it and you beat me to the sounder, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Breaking news. There you go. All right, hit the breaking
news. Yeah,
hit the breaking news sounder for you.
I mean, it's Tuesday, so I figure it's, you know, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I haven't had a chance to check, but and I don't like, one thing I'm not doing right now, which I love, is going on Twitter. So I've deleted Twitter off my phone, and it's just freed up a lot of time, quite honestly.
So, all right, since you broke news, even though we won't call it breaking news, what have you thought about what Atlanta United has done in the offseason, bringing in Abram, bringing in Giacomakis, and everything that you're seeing with a full offseason with Gonzalo Pineda in charge?
You know, this is the first year, I have to tell you this, the first year that I've felt like I either feel concerned or I either feel incredibly optimistic. And the reason I say that is, you look at the team on paper and you're like, okay, if everybody's fit, now with experienced goalkeepers, 3 options. Like
Yeah.
Clement Job, like going back a few years ago, I remember looking at him being like, he's one of the most underrated goalkeepers in the league. Obviously, Quentin Westberg has plenty of experience, and we all know about Brad, and hopefully Brad is, fully fit, raring to go after everything he went through last year. And then throughout the team, Miles back is massive. The fullbacks, I have zero concern about Andrew Gutman and Brooks Lennon. And I especially, I'm stating the obvious when I say this, but I really think that if Yakimakis comes in and he hits the ground running whenever the paperwork gets sorted, hopefully for this weekend, Brooks Lennon is going to be the one that's going to thrive the most with him up front. But then the questions start to fall then, and this is where the concern sets in, is how is Miles going to be at the rate and at the level that he was beforehand after such a gruesome injury? Abraham has been slated by many in the media, I'm seeing, as a starter. Why?
Yeah.
Parata for me, I thought was outstanding when he came in.
Absolutely.
Mid-summer. To think about it, he joined a team mid-summer and had the impact that he had in what was quite a struggling side and a poor side, all things considered, because they didn't make the playoffs, and he still stood out. I thought he was good defensively, obviously excellent. The highest scoring defender in Atlanta United history after half a season is pretty impressive.
Yep.
And then the other concerns: can Araujo produce the way we all know he can? Like, anybody who's watched Atlanta United games and has looked at this guy understands his potential, but has he got it within his own head to make it work and to be smarter in terms of, he takes the ball on the right hand side, he cuts in, and there's runners, there's options, and he takes a pot shot from 30 yards. There's certain moments in games where you're like, okay, if Gonzalo Pineda gets a full off season with all
there's the Canadian roads. Hang on, Kevin. Hang on.
So I'm really excited, but given all that this team went through last year, and it was Gonzalo Pineda's first full season as a head coach, how is he going to respond after that sort of a year last year? And obviously, there's pressure now. There's this is Atlanta United we're talking about. There should always be pressure, but I know that after last year and during last year, we all nearly had to give the team a little bit of a pass, given the amount of injuries. I mean, I'd spoken to so many people around the league, and a lot of people said I've never seen an injury crisis like this on any team in league history. And it's important that that's recognised, because you're losing the best defender in the league, arguably a US vet in Brad Guzan in goal, and the team captain. Obviously, Joseph then coming back was never the player that he once was after the ACL. So there were a lot of issues, and now you bring in some fresh faces. I'm excited. I'm cautiously excited, because I think last year has us all a little bit wounded in that sense.
Yeah.
And I'm just intrigued to see what the team looks like.
Jared Smith, go for it.
You get Brad Guzan back in the fold, you get Miles back in the fold. We talked about those guys. As far as looking at the rest of the team, if you had to just take a shot in the dark on who's that kind of leader, cult figure that's next up, because we know Brad is getting to the end of his career. Looking at that roster, who would you peg as that next leader?
All right, so if you're asking me if I'm in a dressing room, Jared, and there's one guy gonna throw me up against the wall, get in my head, and have me run through a wall for him, it's Andrew Gutman. I've said this before. I would tie him down to a 10-year contract. I'd have him as a future Atlanta United captain. I think he's got all those intangibles. I think he's an incredibly good player. He is. If you're watching Atlanta United games like we all are, you understand that he's one of the best left backs in the league. And I said this last year with Jason. He should be consideration for the US men's national team.
No doubt.
I don't see a huge upgrade in Anthony Robinson. I really don't. So I think it's Andrew Gutman for me. Because I've often worried about the defense with Atlanta United and personalities. You take out Brad, and all of a sudden that team becomes very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
In midfield, Osetu, Ibarra, Sosa's a talker, but not as much as Gutman is. And Gutman has this unbelievable ability to ignite a fire underneath all the fans inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is such a rare trait these days. Oftentimes, the players are trained to be media professionals now, and sometimes that trait is missing, and Gutman has it, and he has it in spades. And I know he can be that player, and he can be that talisman. And going forward, I think he found a little bit of confidence last year in scoring goals in back-to-back games and becoming more of a threat in behind. I really felt that he found a new level of confidence going forward. I used to cover Big Ten soccer, and Gutman, when he played for Indiana, was exceptional at going forward. Yet I think playing under different systems, Cincinnati, you're kind of beaten down. You back-to-back wooden spoons, and he's part of a team that's doing an awful lot of defending and being pegged back. And at the New York Red Bulls, you're told to kick it and chase. So for Gutman, I think now he has stability. He feels he's wanted, and I feel he can step up, and he's a future Atlanta United captain.
All right, Twitch Pitch has a couple of questions, Kev, and we're probably going to tackle them both in the final 10 minutes that we have here. You can choose which one you want to talk about first. What you think about the midfield, or what you think about Joseph heading to Inter Miami?
Let's go with the midfield, because that is where right now I'm not concerned. I'm just intrigued. I have said, and I've come under criticism for this with some of the Atlanta United shows. I remember speaking with Sam Jones, and Joe Patrick, and I'd said that for me, Josetu is like, I think he's maybe the most talented player on the roster, and they were like nearly laughing at me. And I really do think in terms of just talent alone, like technique, Josetu is like really, really talented, yet it hasn't translated into consistent performances and consistent fitness, quite honestly, on the pitch. There's something there. There's something really special there. This was a player who was part of an Atletico Paranaense side that won the Copa Sudamericana. He received an awful lot of minutes in midfield. Everyone's talking about Bruno Guimaraes now, who's a fan favourite at Newcastle. Well, he's Josetu's best friend, and they were side by side in that midfield with Luchi Gonzalez. Luchi Gonzalez, do you hear me? Oh my God, that's ahead of this weekend. Lucho Gonzalez, back in who had 52 appearances for Argentina. Like that was a side that was a really good team in Brazil, and Matheus Josetu was signed, by Atlanta United for a reason. And I think he's so talented, but I want to see it on the field now. And I think you'll agree with me on this, that he's the type of player you nearly want to see him like burst someone in a tackle and like get fired up. Get a booking if need be, but just do whatever it takes to fire him up and find that edge within a game, because technically he's more than talented enough. The other question I have about Matheus is, like, what exactly is he? Because we've seen him at times play as a 6 and 8, at times a little bit further forward. We don't see him threaten too often in front of goal, which we did in preseason. We did in preseason going back a few years ago as well in Birmingham. So we know he can do it, but he's the player for me that if you're asking me, like, is there one player that you want to see step up the most? It's the two Brazilians. It's Josetu and it's Luis Araújo.
And then I want to go back, actually, shift this thing to reverse. I want to ask you about, because you're talking about Gutman, with so many of these guys nowadays. You have the media training, you have this media relations thing, and how much fun is it for you when you can break through that with a player, where you can get them almost out of that media training and just get them to just be a human for a minute and just discuss things in a fun, exciting way?
Yeah. You know what? If I was doing that media training, I'd do it all differently, Jared, because the way they're training some of the players these days, it's shocking. Like, I'll let you in like a little bit behind the curtain here. When Brad Guzan was doing the AmFam Cup, what was it, last year?
Yeah.
When he was up in the booth and he was with Gillian and I for that game, I had said to him, how you feeling, whatever else, and he said, we do a lot of media training. We did a lot of media training with the national team. And I was like, stop right there.
Uh-oh.
Do not bring any of that. Like, I want you to be yourself. Have fun. Like, you understand, you're wise enough at this stage in your life to understand what's acceptable to say and what's not. What's fun and what's inappropriate, for example. So you use your own nous, your own maturity, and have fun out there. And I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I said to Brad, you've got a future in broadcasting if you want one, because he was himself, he was natural, he was fun. But if you bring the media training, forget about it. And so often in broadcasting, former players, they find themselves on the precipice a lot. Like Dan Gargan, year one with me, I'd say to him post game. I did the first 5 games with him before leaving, and Alan Green stepped in, and after like 3 or 4 games, I said, Dan, you're so close, but you're holding yourself back because you're still thinking you're a player. And that's where sometimes that media training can come in. But to your question, Jared, it is so much fun. And when you have a Gutman and you get a chance to chat with him, he's just himself, and he's wonderful. A lot of the guys are very much media trained, but there's some guys that we've yet to crack, we've yet to really like get to know. But Gutman is definitely one of those ones that I think everybody, when they chat with him, realizes the potential that he has as a leader, both within Atlanta United, potentially as captain one day, but also going forward to the national team.
All right, the other question. Joseph now a part of Inter Miami, and Coach Neville said he's probably about a month away from getting the full song. Now that Joseph is with a rival, what do you, when you look at the past, when you look at the present and the future and everything with Joseph Martinez, what runs through your mind, Kev?
I'm grateful. That's the first feeling for me, is incredible gratitude, both as a fan and as a broadcaster. You know, there's very few times in your career, and as a broadcaster now in Major League Soccer, I've had it twice, and I chat to other broadcasters and they've yet to have it, where a certain player can spark something within them and give you special moments. Like Joseph, how many times did he score, whether it's miraculous goals, clutch goals, that for me selfishly, and for Gargan or for Mo, like, it's a gift. It's an absolute gift. The last thing you want are bland players with playing in a rigid system, the game that's not exciting. Like in Chicago, I had it with Mike McGee. Mike McGee won the MLS MVP in 2013. McGee came in mid-season, and after he made his debut, Chicago Fire didn't make the playoffs that year. We're the best team in Major League Soccer statistically. And McGee brought personality, he brought a flair, we brought a passion for the game, everything that Joseph brought to Atlanta United. And Joseph brought more. You know, the way he connected with the 17s, it's just, the way I feel about him leaving is I'm okay with it, because this is the world we live in. Like, nothing lasts forever, and I felt it was the best move for both parties, and I wish Joseph well, quite honestly. If you're relying on Joseph Martinez to qualify for the playoffs, or if you're relying on him not having a good season and whatever else, well, that's on Atlanta United. That's you shouldn't be worried too much about Joseph. You've got to worry about yourself.
Okay, I want to shift it now, and we can pass the mic, metaphorically speaking, because you are in Canada for an amazing event. I do want to ask about the energy and the pop in the room Sunday.
Yes, if you could get Kevin Patrick on the phone,
because one second, guys. Hey, KP, would you mind? Yeah. Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well.
Garrett Smith
for
has a question for you, KP.
Thanks for taking the time and giving the wheel back to Kevin Egan. I want to ask about just the energy and the pop in that room, because we were watching the Elimination Chamber Sunday night, and we had like a green room messaging that we have between all of us, and it was just all capital letters, all random screaming onomatopoeias left and right. I want to ask just the energy in that room. It seemed like the whole arena was about to collapse on itself.
Yeah, it was so emotional, actually, being there and knowing, Sami Zayn, Remy, behind the scenes, and what a great guy he is. And I don't know him overly well at all, but I know he's an incredible human being. And to see like his family there, Kevin Owens had his family there, and to be in Montreal for such a big event, it was so cool. To revel in the euphoria of it all was really cool in that moment. And I think what they produced was Oscar worthy again.
It was.
And it's something I'm figuring out. As everybody knows, I wasn't the biggest WWE fan at all years ago, and so I'm learning so much every single week, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it, and to see how the stories were told, to learn from a guy like Michael Cole on the mic, but to watch two characters, in Roman Reigns, whose name is Joe, and Sami Zayn,
Joe from Pensacola,
in the ring, and not even just having a moment where for close to 5 minutes they didn't even speak.
Nope.
And Montreal took over.
Mm-hmm.
And really cool moment.
What has this been like for you, Kevin Patrick, to be a part of something where, I mean, you get to Elimination Chamber and it was 40 minutes of storytelling. I mean, it was an old school match where you had Roman talking to Sammy's wife. Sammy's wife is getting involved in the whole thing. And I think that what we have seen from Joe from Pensacola and Georgia Tech is an evolution where he has completely and totally embraced what he can do to a crowd. And especially you add that to the hot crowd that was there in Montreal, and it really was something special.
Yeah, it was. I think one of the things I'm learning from, and I've become, my closer friends in there are some of the older superstars, quite honestly. And what I've learned from a lot of them is that with experience, you learn to slow it down a little bit.
Yep.
And if you watch like Roman Reigns and his movements are so methodical and full of depth, you know, like his expression, the way it captures you. And he's so incredibly impressive. He really is. Like over 900 days now as champion and basically, you know, running WWE. And,
that ain't nothing on Bruno Sammartino, KP.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But he's an incredibly impressive guy. You know, I talked about essentialism earlier, and you think about what he has to do to manage everything. He's got 5 kids, and he's, you know, same age as me. We're a month apart. He's 37, so I can't imagine, you know, with all his duties that he has to take care of for work and 5 kids and everything. He's just an incredibly impressive guy and character. And Roman Reigns has been so utterly dominant. The Bloodline story is just stupidly good. You know, the way it organically developed with Sami Zayn initially, you know, coming off the conspiracy theories in the match with Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania, to then try and inject himself into the Bloodline and then being accepted and on the verge of losing the honorary tag to become Sami Uso. And then for this to happen, and the way it played out last night with Kevin Owens, let's see where this goes ahead of WrestleMania.
Yeah. Well, KP, if you could hand the phone back to Kevin Egan, that'd be great.
No problem. All right. Hey, John.
All right. Well, Kev, if both of the Kevs could be safe in traveling back home, and thank you for hanging out with us on the road and on the drive. Hopefully we kept you awake getting to the airport.
You absolutely did. You absolutely did. It's been a pleasure, guys. I'm looking forward to a great season, and I'm going to be calling things 50-50 and down the middle this year, which should be fun.
Well, as you know, you have golden ticket status here on the Soccer's Morning Show, where if you want to crash at any time, text me, and you can crash, and you can come in and party, and we will have some fun all season long. Just be safe getting home. We'll see you this weekend, my friend.
Love it. What's the predictions then, John and Jared?
Pain. No, I'm gonna go. I'll go with the driving slipper lock of the week and go Atlanta United 2-1.
Give me Atlanta United 4-3. Atlanta and San Jose have played 3 times, and all 3 of those games have been blackout drunk. They've yet to play a normal game together. Give me 4-3.
Yeah. I think San Jose are going to be maybe the surprise team this season.
Okay.
You know, I really do, and that's what if you're an Atlanta United fan, that would, you know, that would concern you, right? Like I think Luchi Gonzalez is underrated as a coach. He comes back off being assistant and some time away, and he's probably evolved and grown an awful lot. And now he's a manager that we know is very good at dealing with youth.
Yep.
And with players like, you know, Benji Kikanovic and Kate Cowell, I think they've got that's just some forward-thinking players. Obviously, coming off the season that he had, Christian Espinosa's been lighting it up in pre-season, and then you add a piece like Gruezo in midfield with someone like Yule, you know, who's slowly, hopefully, getting back to his best. That's a good team. The question marks around centre back were always there. They were fairly brutal last year defensively. Obviously, a change of manager, but yeah, Jonathan Mensah.
Yeah.
There's question marks around their centre back still, and their goalkeeper. But I do think that they'll be a little bit of a surprise this year, and that's why I think we're gonna. I'm with Jared on this. I think this game could get drunken pretty quickly. I think I don't know. If I was predicting anything, I'd predict goals.
Take the over is what Kevin. It was what Kevin Patrick was saying. Patrick's tapping you on the shoulder, going, "Take the over. Take the over." All right, Kev, we will see you this weekend, my friend. Just be safe getting home, and we'll catch up soon.
Can't wait. See you guys. All the best.
All the best.
Take care. Be safe.
Wow.